we have it. The Apple Pencil 2 released back in 2018 alongside that 2018 iPad Pro, and it's been almost 4 years since Apple has changed anything about it, and it's remained at that same $129 price point. And in this video, we're going to talk about every single feature that makes this Apple Pencil 2 a must-have accessory for the iPad Pro or any iPad that is compatible with the Apple Pencil 2. Without further ado, let's go through every single feature of this Apple Pencil 2 because this thing, the more and more you learn about it, the more wowed you are. Let's get into it. First thing I am going to mention is that I will be using the Apple Pencil 2, and most of these things will work with the first edition Apple Pencil. The only thing that won't work is that double tap feature, the shortcut to go from marker to eraser. But everything else will work with the Apple Pencil 1 and any previous iPad generations. So let's start with the basics and open up the Notes app and get right into it. So when you open up the Notes app, you obviously see all the tools on the bottom, and if you aren't aware, you can actually move these around to the right side, to the left side, to the top of it. And then to minimize the toolbar when you don't need it and you know exactly what tool you're using, you just kind of swipe it off to a corner and then it shows you exactly what pencil tip you're using. But to walk through all the different pencil tips that we have, the first one is the one with the A. So we're going to talk about that one in a little bit because that's a smart pencil tip that allows you to use Scribble inside of the Notes app. But the first one is just a classic marker. You have all the different shades that you can do, and then this little bar right here changes the opacity of that marker. So you can see that I'm moving it like this, and then when you actually put the opacity all the way to 100%, it's a much darker looking marker tip for that Apple Pencil tip. And then you have the highlighter, which is very self-explanatory, and then again, it does work with precision and angles with the Apple Pencil 2. So the more pinpoint you are and more 90-degree you are to the screen itself, the thinner the actual marker tip is going to be. And then when you hold it sideways, you can see that it gets much thicker, especially with the highlighter. And then the next pencil tip is just a colored pencil type, so it kind of has a little bit of a scratch resistance, it has a little bit more opacity, and it's a little bit thinner, but you can obviously go thicker, push harder to get a thicker line, just like you would with any other colored pencil in real life. And then you have the eraser, and like I mentioned earlier, with the Apple Pencil 2, you can double tap to actually change from eraser to marker with that shortcut. But one thing I do want to bring up is that there's two eraser options. So if you actually double click on the eraser tool, you have the object erase and then the pixel erase. I prefer to stay in the object erase because what that does is that it erases the entire object that you drew with that instance of the Apple Pencil. Versus with the pixel erase, it actually erases what you go over. So I like the object erase because normally I'm dealing with words and digital note-taking and things like that, so it helps me erase the entire word versus each individual letter. So that is just an option that you guys have there. And then you have the spiral pen tip, which allows you to circle any object that you've drawn and then actually move it around as an actual image or a PNG or a JPEG. And then finally, you have the ruler, which I actually really like because it allows you to create perfect lines, and you can move it with two fingers at any angle, and it does give you the exact angle that you're in. So you just use your ruler, get exactly what angle you want, and then bring the Apple Pencil up to it, and then automatically you can see that you get a perfectly straight line. Another nice feature that Apple added with iPadOS 15 is the ability to make perfect shapes with just your Apple Pencil. So if you have a pencil tip, and then you want to make a circle, but you can see that it's very ugly because, again, drawing a perfect circle, I don't think anybody can actually do that. But if you actually draw the circle and then hold down, it'll automatically change it into a perfect circle, and this works for most shapes. So if you want to draw a square, you can do that. If you want to draw a triangle and just hold it down, it creates a perfect triangle. Even a star. So if you try to draw a star, because that's also another hard one, and hold it down, it automatically creates a star. And it even works with just lines. So you don't primarily need to use a ruler to get perfect lines. So if you draw a line, it looks a little squiggly, and you hold it down, then it changes it into a perfectly straight line whenever you're drawing diagrams or org charts or anything that you need to do to create with straight lines. So now let's talk Scribble, because Scribble did release with iPadOS, I believe 14, it might have been iPadOS 15, but with Scribble, we had the ability to now convert actual handwritten notes into physical text or computer text or whatever you guys want to call it. But for the most part, I thought it was a little bit gimmicky to begin with because all I would use it for is kind of on the address bar to show people that it can be done. So now with Scribble, you actually have a new tool inside of the pencil toolbar, which is, it looks like a marker but with a little A on it. I don't know what that A stands for, but that is kind of like your smart pencil. So if you hit on that A, and then start to draw words that you want to say, then automatically it changes it into text perfectly. So, and then you can see that I'm actually writing anywhere on the screen, and it still is able to order the actual words in the order that I'm actually writing them in. So you can see that this is perfectly there. So some other cool things to notice with the Apple Pencil and that tool. So if you want to bring up the tool again on the top right, you just press that little pencil button. And there's actually ways to manipulate the text that's been converted into computer text with just your Apple Pencil. So for instance, if you want to delete a word, all you do is you actually scribble it out and then it gets deleted. So something that's very cool that I didn't know actually existed. If you want to highlight a word, all you do is you draw a line through it and you can highlight the word, an entire sentence, or whatever you want, or whatever you see fit. And you actually add and remove spaces by adding a little line in between to get rid of a space, or if you want to re-implement that space, just draw a line in between those letters and it adds that space. And now let's say you just have an entire paragraph that you want to manipulate a little bit more, but you want to add a sentence or a couple words in the middle of a sentence with your Apple Pencil. All you have to do is grab your Apple Pencil, and the same way you would add or remove a space, do the same thing, but hold your Apple Pencil down, and then you'll be able to see that you can actually add text right in there. So just hold down in between two words, and then start using Scribble the same way you would, and it would add it in between those words. So it's a beautiful thing to have, especially because, again, you're working with handwritten notes, and it's being manipulated and learned from inside of the iPad itself and turned into actual computer text that's legible and readable. So now let's say that you're taking digital handwritten notes on the iPad itself and you want to copy that text in actual computer text but move it into a different application. Let's say you have a bunch of notes that you want to take, maybe add it to a separate note, maybe you want to add it to an iMessage, add it to a Google Doc, or some sort of other shared text editor. It's very easy to do that, which is actually very cool and very intuitive. So all you do is you take your Apple Pencil, take down whatever notes you want to use, and once you have that handwritten note, all you do is you grab your spiral pencil tip, you circle that hello right there, and then you just tap on there, and then you have the ability to cut that, copy, delete, duplicate, and then you have copy as text. So you press copy as text, and we go over here to the other side, and then all you do is you paste it, and you can see that it's now pasted not in handwritten form, but in actual computer text form. So that's pretty much everything you need to know from the actual Notes application and the Apple Pencil, and how it plays with Scribble, and how to use the tools of the Apple Pencil kind of to your advantage. But some other things to take note of is in the settings, the Apple Pencil has its own little section that you can play with a little bit. Now, it's not super customizable, but it does give you the battery life. It lets you actually customize to a certain degree the double tap feature. So with the double tap feature, by default, it's going to move you from an eraser to the tool and then vice versa when you double tap. But you also have the ability to switch between current tool and the last tool used. So if you want to switch between the color pencil and the marker, you can do that. And you have the ability to actually make it show just a color palette. So if you're quickly trying to change between different colors, then by all means you can have that shortcut. And obviously you can just turn it fully off if you feel like you're doing a lot of accidental double taps, which does happen on occasion. And then another thing to note, that most of this stuff, I would say 80% of this stuff actually works with just a finger. Obviously it's not as precise, like taking handwritten notes with a finger is probably not ideal, but if you do have an iPad of any generation and you just want to play around with those features that I mentioned, like creating perfect shapes, using the ruler to create perfect lines and other things like that, you actually have the ability to just turn on or turn off the only draw with Apple Pencil feature, and then you can do that. And then the last two things that the Apple Pencil allows you to do is actually bring up some quick things with the bottom right and the bottom left gestures with the Apple Pencil. So one feature that did come to iPadOS 15 is this ability called Quick Note. So all you do is swipe from the bottom left to pick up the Quick Note, and obviously I really hope that this turns into some sort of foreshadow into iPadOS 16 of what floating windows can look like. But again, the app works exactly the same, so you can handwrite in here, you can circle it, you can get all your tools, you can open it up again if you want to and go from your Quick Note into a full screen mode, so that's always good to see. And then obviously the other shortcut is on the bottom right. It allows you to take a screenshot, which is a perfect segue in having the ability to use your Apple Pencil to mark up certain things, and you get your entire tool set that you would in the Apple Notes app. So you have the actual colored pencil, you have the highlighter, so if I wanted to highlight something from here that I want to get rid of, you can obviously do that, change the color. You also have access to the ruler, which I actually use a lot for my finalizing my thumbnails, and sometimes I put a little underline on the text. But again, that's what I use the Apple Pencil for, and then you can save the screenshot and send it off. And then one of the last things I will mention about the Apple Pencil is just how efficient it is with PDF documents. So if you just have a regular PDF document like I have right here, I'm just in the Files app, it's a PDF doc, you have the ability just to add signatures very, very quickly, save it, and then send it off whenever you need to. There's no back and forth needed, you no longer have to fax things. I know we're in 2022, but that's just the case. So all you do is on the top right corner of any PDF document, hit that little pencil tip to bring up all the toolbars. And then if you click on the toolbar, you actually have the option with the little plus sign to add a signature, which is pre-created for you, or you can add or remove any more. So if I want to add another one, you can do that. So let's plus, do a little signature here, press done, and then we can add that signature into the document itself, make it bigger, make it smaller, put it wherever you need to actually put a signed signature. But those are all my Apple Pencil tips. Let's finish up this video. So that's pretty much going to do it for this video, everybody. Leave a comment down below of your favorite Apple Pencil 2 feature, or maybe a feature that you learned today that you didn't know actually existed. Because my favorite one, or maybe not my favorite, but the one that surprised me the most, is how much further Scribble really goes. I thought Scribble was just going to be kind of just this kind of one-off, demo-ish style thing, more so of a gimmick than an actual use case and something that's usable. But you guys can see that Scribble actually goes a long way, and it's more than just turning handwritten text into actual typed text. It's about using your Apple Pencil as like your typewriter inside of the Apple Notes and inside of iPadOS. So overall, I'm a big fan of the Apple Pencil 2. I highly recommend it. I also highly recommend getting a paper-like screen protector if you guys are planning on using this as your digital note-taking device, because it does protect the screen an immense amount, and it gives you a nice little scratch resistance that you feel with paper. But overall, I do recommend the Apple Pencil 2. There are some alternatives that are a little bit cheaper and give you about 90% of the functionality, so I'll link some of those down below. But that's going to do for this video, everybody. If you did enjoy, leave a little dolphin right here so I know that you made it to the end. And check out one of these videos over here about how to maximize your efficiency with iPadOS. But I'm out of here.